Hello and welcome to the third part of our presentation about Southwark Bridge. In this part we will be looking at the rolling stock we have available to run on the layout. Waterloo was primarily a passenger station and was extremely busy. There was significant commuter traffic from around southwest London, as well as mainline trains to the coast, boat trains for Southampton, and holiday trains for the West Country. On top of this, there were specials for things like race days. To service this demand, the LSWR ran a wide range of passenger stock, from ageing six-wheelers for metropolitan trains to the latest and most modern corridor stock for trains to Plymouth. Shortly after the project started, these books about rolling stock on the LSWR by Gordon Weddell were published. The books contain good quality drawings for each type of rolling stock, as well as accurate lists of numbers and build dates. Some of the drawings are shown later to support this presentation. The stock items required were identified in Henry Boucher's document mentioned in part 2 of the presentation, and then constructed in accordance with the details in these books. The locos required were identified from old photos of LSWR trains and descriptions in these books by Don Bradley and friends. These give drawings and details about each class of loco and have plenty of good photographs to aid accurate modelling. A variety of manufacturers provided the kits for our stock. For coaches we used kits from Roxy Mouldings and Southwark Bridge Models, which was Ivan Smith's business but now part of Roxy, and various other small suppliers. For locos, which are mostly etched brass, we used kits from Martin Finney, now Brassmasters, Alan Gibson, and many others such as High Level. And then of course scratch building for those items not available as kits. The sheer volume of stock to be built required outside professional help to achieve what we needed. This included both building and painting. More recently we have undertaken coach building in-house, as we're generally filling in gaps in the fleet, and we are also doing our own painting and lining. Here is the fiddle yard on a typical running day. All stock is kept in cassettes to help reduce the handling and protect the paintwork. The cassettes are slid around the surface of the fiddle yard. At the end of each cassette there is a gate to hold the stock in place. The cassette is joined to the track electrically by contacts at the side to allow locos to be driven in. Each cassette is clearly marked with the rake ID and a list of vehicles contained in it. Let's take a look at the coaches we operate. First, the suburban trains. The earliest vehicles that we run are six-wheelers, ranging in length from 30 to 34 feet. This particular one is a 30-foot second number 38, built in 1886 to diagram 1478. We have 3 sets of six-wheelers, of which 2 are currently in service. Here is the 7-car set with number 38 towards the middle of the train. These vehicles are of various vintages, dating from the 1880s through to 1910. They remained in service well into Southern days, with some to be rebuilt into electric stock. Next we have the bogie block sets, used for suburban work. Note there are no buffers on the intermediate ends of the coaches. They're only provided at the end of the rake. The sets usually consisted of a brake third, a couple of tri-compos, and another brake third, all permanently close coupled. The coaches range from 49 to 51 foot in various configurations. The coupling between the coaches is very close and required careful construction to make sure the train would run smoothly across the sinuous track work on the layout. This is followed by a 4.5 set. Look closely at the windows in the second train, which have been glazed with microscope slide glass. The sharp reflectance brings the train alive. For intermediate distance trains to the coast and places like Reading or Petersfield, we have the 4.5 sets. These sets are made up of 48-foot coaches. 2 brake thirds and a combination of either a third, a tri-compo or a bi-compo, plus a 30-foot passenger brake van, all permanently coupled together. These coaches were provided with lavatories, which are in the middle of the coach and can be accessed from the compartments on either side. Here we have a typical train for the coast or Reading. It comprises a K10 loco pulling a 4.5 set. The passenger brake van was used for parcels and light goods. The 4-coach mainline sets are used on longer distance trains, but nonetheless non-corridor. The rakes are a mixture of 48 to 56 foot stock, permanently coupled together. A typical set comprises brake thirds at either end and a selection of coaches in the middle. First third compo, second third compo, tri-compo, all generally with lavatory. Here we have 2 mainline sets, strengthened with a couple of extra coaches, giving a load of 10 in all. A very realistic load for trains of the time. For the long-distance express services, the LSWR had a fleet of corridor stock. There were a range of coach types, firsts, brake thirds, tri-composites, composites, and dining saloons. Here is a model of dining saloon number 78. The sides were produced by Trevor Charlton as etched zinc plates based on printing technology. The rest was scratch built or sourced from the spares box. This makes for an extremely heavy coach. This is the Plymouth train starting out from platform 7. As is typical of the prototype, the T9 at the front is struggling and slipping like mad with this heavy train. And it comes to a halt under A box. There is a surreptitious helping hand, and away it goes. Finally, let's take a look at a couple of examples of trains we run. First, there is a 4-car main line set setting out for Bournemouth. Then we have an empty stock arrival into platform 7 of the dining car set for a Portsmouth train. Now let's take a look at tail traffic. There is a wide variety of types: family saloons, horse boxes, open carriage trucks, and passenger rated vans. Any or all of these could be attached at short notice to service trains to be delivered anywhere across the network. We also have an inspection train. At the front is an O2, still awaiting a visit to the paint shop. Then there is a passenger guard van, the 46-foot bogie director's saloon, the 25-foot six-wheeler director's saloon, the 30-foot state saloon, the 47-foot royal saloon, and a passenger brake van. And on the right we have the 113 to Bisley Camp, with an M7 in charge, a 9-car set for the troops, a 43-foot all first for the officers, and a 44-foot passenger guards van for the kit. There are a limited range of goods vehicles required to meet the needs of particular traffic types, much of this stock having to be passenger rated as it is attached as tail traffic to service trains or needs to run quickly with perishable cargoes. As previously mentioned, there is the milk traffic with churns transported in vans. Then there is bullion traffic, transporting gold, silver and banknotes to Southampton docks, and banknote paper from portals at Overton. There was a daily fish train from Padstow, run using vacuum-braked meat vans. It left Padstow at 4 p.m, Exeter at 10 p.m, and arrived in London at 3 a.m. to deliver fresh fish to the hotels for that day's lunch. Likewise, there was rabbit traffic from the West Country in what looks like large laundry baskets being loaded into a PGV. In 1912, this was seen as a good source of nutrition and dealt with a pest that damaged crops and railway embankments. Coal is required for the loco yard, and we run a daily coal train made up from Stevenson Clark coal wagons. Here is 334, arriving with the day's supply in the characteristically grey S&C wagons. And finally, ballast and track maintenance. We are in the process of building a train to represent this activity, made up of a ballast plough and hopper wagons. So whilst passenger services dominate the operation at Southwark Bridge, there is quite a selection of goods trains operated, often at night. Here we have an LSWR 395 class, number 29, with a works train, comprising a goods brake van, some 4 and 5 plank open wagons, a couple of 10-ton covered goods vans, a timber bolster wagon, and an 18-foot goods guards van. Locos come from a variety of sources. The M7s and T9s are commercially available kits. Others have been scratch built. Some built by professional builders, others by members of the group. Here is Jubilee number 531, built by Bernard Baker and photographed for us by Philip Hall, as are many of the following images. The locos we run were produced under BT Adams and Drummond. Sit back and admire the work of Bernard Baker in the next few photos. And here is Bernard's model of a T14 paddle box, number 462. Here we have 334, built in 1876. A handy little engine for a bit of light goods work. An Adams 395 class, number 29, built in 1885, and it survived until 1958. This is an Adams T3, built in 1893. Bernard Baker delighted in building the unusual and produced this scratch-built model of Mr. Drummond's car. Bernard even modelled the lock on the toolbox under the cabin, although he never got round to making a key. And Mike Day is still busy building and painting locos. Here is the D15 during construction. Note the working inside motion. Here in the paint shop we have an interesting contrast. On the left is a T9 and on the right is the D15. Just shows how much bigger engines have become. And now we have the same pair nearing completion. There are still locos we want to add. For example, here is the beginnings of an Adams 380 class known as a steamroller. This will appear on the layout in goods livery, perhaps pulling a rake of close-coupled stock. And not forgetting our diminutive 040 for shunting the gasworks. A high-level kit, and not for the faint-hearted, as everything is so tiny. That concludes this part of our presentation about the rolling stock and Southwark Bridge. Thank you for watching, and I hope it was of interest to you.